Welcome everyone, let's continue our dungeon crawler. Let's start up Xcode. Let's open the tech depth and start a timer for 25 minutes. Okay, let's go. So let's see what's in our tech depth. Clean up the mess that the project folder structure is. And the player position breaks encapsulation as it's changeable from outside of the class. Okay, that's because this is a world writable member, and this is because there's just a lot of files here. Let's tackle the first one first. Let's create a folder for everything that's related to presentation. I think we should be able to put a lot of stuff in there. Also the game view. Okay. Let's see if this still builds. Okay, let's see if this still runs. Okay. Let's create a folder for all the game logic. This can hold a coordinate, direction, player, world. And I guess the world update system can also be part of the presentation. So let's close this one because we don't need it for a bit. These ones can stay where they are. We're mostly concerned with the game logic for now. So let's run our tests. These still pass. Let's run the project that still works. Okay. So I think that's a nice first step, so we can move this one into done. And let's commit. Okay. Next step, player position breaks encapsulation. That is true. We can fix this by making it a private set variable so we can read it, but we can't write to it. And this one is also done. Okay, let's do some actual work. So let's go to our backlog that says we can do something about rotating, and the notes say let's work on rotation as well. So that sounds like a good idea. Let's place this one on the other side. And then here, let's go to our tests, and these are about movement. We could create a new suite for rotation. Player rotation shoot. And this will be a struct. And the first test will be let's turn clockwise. a player rotation should face east when it turns clockwise. Okay, so let's create a player. Then we'll say player.turn clockwise. And then we can expect, so we're just inventing the API that we want, player.facing or heading equals east. All this stuff doesn't exist, but let's start implementing it. What we could do is we could make this one a bit smaller, open a third window, and we can go to player in this one and start implementing stuff. So what do we need? We need a function called turn clockwise. So that should solve the first compiler error. Anytime now. Okay, so the first one is now gone. Took a bit of time. The second one is about the heading. So we'll create a new variable called heading. And that we could reuse the direction, but when you look at direction, here the direction is defined from the point of view of some object that can move. So it can move forwards, backwards, to its left or right. So it's sort of a local direction. And what I mean here is, in terms of heading, is more like where am I looking, and that should be defined in terms more of compass directions, like you're facing north or south or east or west. So what I think we should do is create a new type of direction called the compass direction. And we can say it's east, and then implement a new direction called that has a case for north. Maybe Apple Intelligence can help me exactly complete them all. Very nice. So this one now also no longer complains, and now we should have a heading and a test that we can at least have pass. Okay, so it's passing, but of course it's not passing for the right direction. Still, passing test, working code means we get to commit. So we have a new test, face east when it turns clockwise. So the first step we can do to improve this is to say, what if we face north when the new player is created. A new player faces north. So we have a player and the default heading is north if nothing else happens. So let's run this test. It fails. We can fix it by making sure that we default it to north. However, this, of course, fails the second one. To fix that, we can just say our heading will be east. because that's the simplest implementation of making sure that this test passes. So what if, because this of course isn't really a good idea, but still we have a bit more working code. So we face north when the new player is created. Let's see, what kind of test can we think of to make this code invalid? Well, how about we say face west when it turns clockwise 3 times. So you more or less spin around your own axle clockwise 3 times, or 3/4 of the way. So we say turn clockwise 3 times. And now it should be west. What we can do is to at least quickly get in, we'll quickly get into the green by adding a hack, and then we start improving this code or implementing a more proper way. So what if we say that if we're already heading east, then our heading will become west, else we set it to east. Let's see. Oh, if it's not north, yeah, this is terrible. Okay, passing test. Okay, now it's time to start implementing this in a proper way. So one thing we could do is we could say we have a compass direction here. What if we have a variable rotated clockwise? And this returns another compass direction. And this one, Apple Intelligence is able to quickly create for us. So what if we say, instead of turn clockwise, we say our heading is our current heading rotated clockwise. I think it's a variable. Yeah. So this should still pass. And this of course looks a lot better. Refactor implement proper clockwise rotation. Okay, so we can rotate around our axis. We can do two things. We can start looking at the impact on movement first, or we can implement rotating counterclockwise first. I think the latter is easier and we need it anyway, so we'll do that one first. So we'll create a new function called counterclockwise. Wait a sec. Should have test. So you'll face west when it turns counterclockwise once. Turn counterclockwise. And this means that we need to implement a turn counterclockwise function. So we just have an implementation now, but that one will fail because it's the wrong one. Have I made a typo? Yes. So first, let's get rid of those. Test fails. So we should have a heading dot rotated counterclockwise, and why not rotated counterclockwise And maybe if I start typing switch, I get the right values from Apple Intelligence. Okay, cool. So we can now also rotate counterclockwise. So let's quickly add a bit of data to our nodes. Rotate clockwise and counterclockwise. And of course we fixed tag depth, folder structure and encapsulation for okay. Let's use movement and rotation together. So we already have some rotation around here. Let's create a new test case in our movement where we say get to coordinates -1, 0 when it moves forward while facing west. So we assume that we are facing in the westward compass direction, and then moving forward should put us on a different coordinate. Okay, sure, great suggestion. However, we're turning counterclockwise, and then we say player.move forward, and then we expect our player.position to be -1 and 0. This can indeed be a constant, however test fails because we are moving up, because we're not taking our heading into consideration. We can fix this easily by just saying, okay, if our heading is not north, then for now we'll set our position to a hard-coded value. Otherwise, we'll really change our position, but this is just to get a passing test. But we should really do this in a more elegant way. So if we go to our direction, this direction has a function called, or a variable called toCoordinate, and this one really changes. What I think we should do is have this toCoordinate in our compass direction, or have one at least here as well, but this one will be north, south, west and east. And we could create a new function called toCoordinate, or toCompass direction. While facing, so we can take the compass direction into account, and if we don't pass in anything, we'll assume it's north, so that will be sort of the default. And this returns a compass direction. And for now we can just, let's just return anything. Just so we have something that compiles. And what we could do is what is the easiest way of doing this? Well, the first step I would like to take is actually using this function or this API. So what I would probably want to do is comment out this one. Then our player, this one will no longer compile. Because this function no longer works. And let's get rid of this one as well. I think what we need to do is say our position. We add our direction to a compass direction while we take into account our current heading, and this to a coordinate. So then we add a coordinate to a position. This should at least compile. And let's see which tests pass and fail. So we should have a way of the first step could be to switch on ourself and just return, in case we are forward, we return. Yeah, facing isn't even a bad idea. It's actually quite a good step, but let's make it a bit simpler. Right will be the same as east. South will be the same as backwards, and left will be the same as west. So now at least a couple of tests should already pass, although the last one doesn't, because this one really takes facing into account. I'll get rid of the dead code. Now the question is how to do this. Maybe it's enough to first say we have our sort of temp rotate direction. Then we don't need those returns. And then this will be a compass direction. Then we can have a number of quarter turns. This will be also a switch statement, and we can, but this time we switch on the facing, and then we say north is 0. And then we turn make it a couple of turns. Temp direction is temp direction rotated clockwise in this case, and we return the temp direction. Let's see if this at least helps pass the test. Okay. Okay, cool. So, oh, that's the timer. Let's see. So we have the logic to transform a direction to a compass direction while taking facing into account. Okay. Okay. Now I have to say I'm not completely sure about this yet. So what I will do is I'll add to the notes that we at least gain more confidence about moving while taking rotation into account. I'm sorry, it's the facing. That's one. And in the tag that I will say we can get rid of this one. I'll make a new to do. I want to refactor direction to compass direction. Can be cleaned up. It's long. It's smelly. Especially because of all the switch cases. So we could do this a bit better, but we'll have to see. We'll see next time. Let's see in the backlog. Okay, so we're working on rotation. I'm not going to say that we completed it. It's a work in progress. Okay, well, we'll continue this one next time. I'll upload all the code to GitHub. So we have a short, we updated tech depth, and the other one was called notes.md, and we push the stuff. Thanks for watching and have a good day.